The church fell silent as Emma stood alone at the altar, tears streaming down her face, the white envelope trembling in her hands. James watched from the back pew, his 5-year-old daughter Lily clutching his hand, as his brother's cowardly goodbye note destroyed what should have been the happiest day of Emma's life. What happened next would change all their lives forever, in ways none of them could have imagined. If you're moved by this story of heartbreak, redemption, and unexpected love, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more emotional true stories that remind us of the power of human connection. James Parker shifted uncomfortably in the back pew of St. Mary's Church, tugging at his too-tight collar. His daughter Lily fidgeted beside him, her small fingers tracing the embroidered flowers on her junior bridesmaid dress. "Daddy, when is Uncle Michael coming?" she whispered. James checked his watch again. His brother was 20 minutes late to his own wedding. The murmurs from the guests were growing louder, and the pianist had cycled through the prelude music twice already. "I don't know, sweetheart," he answered, a knot forming in his stomach. Emma Matthews, the bride, stood at the altar in her flowing white gown, her smile becoming increasingly strained as she exchanged worried glances with her maid of honor. James had always thought Emma was too good for his brother, kind, intelligent, and patient, especially with Lily after James's wife died 3 years ago. His phone buzzed. A text from Michael: "I can't do this. Tell Emma I'm sorry." James stared at the screen in disbelief. "You've got to be kidding me," he muttered, immediately dialing his brother's number. Straight to voicemail. The church doors opened, and everyone turned expectantly. But it was only the best man, clutching an envelope, his face ashen. He walked slowly down the aisle and handed the envelope to Emma. James watched as Emma's expression transformed from hope to confusion to devastation. Her hands shook as she read the note, then covered her mouth to stifle a sob. The collective gasp from the guests seemed to pull all the oxygen from the room. "Daddy, why is Miss Emma crying?" Lily asked, her voice small. Before James could answer, Emma crumpled to her knees, her wedding dress pooling around her like a deflated dream. Her parents rushed forward, but not before James saw the humiliation and heartbreak etched across her face. Something snapped inside him. This wasn't just another example of Michael's irresponsibility, this was cruelty. "Stay with Aunt Sarah," he told Lily, guiding her toward their cousin in the next pew. Then, without fully understanding what he was doing, James walked down the aisle toward the altar. The whispers followed him. Everyone knew him as Michael's brother, the widowed single dad who rarely dated, who worked too much and smiled too little. But in that moment, all James could see was Emma, someone who deserved so much better than what his brother had done. He knelt beside her, ignoring the stares. "Emma," he said softly. "Let me help you out of here." She looked up, mascara streaking her cheeks. "James? What? You shouldn't have to face this crowd. Come on." He helped her to her feet and, with a protective arm around her shoulders, led her toward the side door of the church. Emma's mother followed, along with the maid of honor. James glanced back and motioned for Sarah to bring Lily. In the small antechamber off the main sanctuary, Emma collapsed into a chair. "He said he's loved someone else for months," she said, her voice hollow. "He couldn't go through with marrying me when he wasn't sure." James felt a surge of anger toward his brother. "Emma, I'm so sorry." "Michael is," he stopped himself. "This isn't about him right now. What can I do?" Emma's mother was already on the phone, instructing someone to announce to the guests that the wedding was cancelled. The maid of honor was helping Emma out of her veil. Lily broke free from Sarah and ran to Emma, climbing into her lap without hesitation. "Don't cry, Miss Emma," she said, wiping Emma's tears with her small hands. "When I'm sad, Daddy makes me hot chocolate with extra marshmallows. Can we do that?" Emma managed a watery smile, hugging Lily close. "That sounds nice, sweetie." James made a decision then. "Emma, let us take you away from here. You shouldn't have to face everyone or deal with all this. He gestured vaguely at the wedding chaos. Sarah can help your parents handle things here. Lily and I can take you somewhere quiet. Emma looked up at him, vulnerability and gratitude in her eyes. You would do that? Of course, he said, surprised by how much he meant it. 3 hours later, Emma sat on James's back porch, wrapped in one of his sweatshirts, her elaborate updo now a messy ponytail. Her wedding dress hung in his guest room closet. She had changed into borrowed clothes, sweatpants from his drawer, a t-shirt from the clean laundry basket. Lily had insisted on making the promised hot chocolate, which meant James did the work while she supervised and counted marshmallows. Now she was inside watching a movie, leaving the adults to talk. I should be on a plane to Bali right now, Emma said, staring into her mug. James nodded. Instead you're drinking lukewarm cocoa on my weathered deck. Quite the downgrade. That earned a small smile. Actually, this is exactly what I needed. Thank you. For what? Rescuing you from your almost wedding to my idiot brother? For not letting me face that alone. She looked at him directly. You didn't have to do that. James shifted uncomfortably. Yes, I did. Michael is my brother, which makes his mistakes partially my responsibility. That's not how it works, James. Maybe not, but... He trailed off, unsure how to explain the protective instinct that had propelled him down that aisle. It wasn't just guilt by association. It was something about Emma herself, how she'd always been kind to Lily, how she'd brought homemade soup when James had the flu last winter, how her laugh could fill a room. I've always thought you deserved better than Michael, he admitted finally. Emma's eyes widened slightly. You never said anything. He's my brother. And you seemed happy. I thought I was. She set down her mug. The signs were there. I just didn't want to see them. They sat in comfortable silence as the sun began to set. James found himself studying her profile, the strength in her jawline, the slight upturn of her nose. He'd always noticed these things about Emma, but had pushed those observations aside out of loyalty to Michael. What will you do now? He asked. Emma sighed. Cancel the honeymoon. Move out of our apartment. Start over, I guess. She looked at him. What will you do about Michael? Honestly? I don't know. Part of me wants to track him down and knock some sense into him. But another part. He hesitated. Another part what? James chose his words carefully. Another part wonders if this might be for the best. Not the way he did it, that was unforgivable. But maybe you both would have been unhappy. Emma considered this. Maybe. But it still hurts. Of course it does. Without thinking, James reached out and covered her hand with his. But you're stronger than you think, Emma. And you're not alone. The moment stretched between them, charged with something neither was ready to name. The sliding door opened, and Lily bounded out. Miss Emma. Can you stay for dinner? Daddy's making spaghetti, and he only burns it a little bit usually. Emma laughed, a real laugh that made James's heart skip. Well, with that ringing endorsement, how can I refuse? The weeks that followed fell into an unexpected pattern. Emma stayed in James's guest room that first night, too emotionally exhausted to face her and Michael's apartment. The next day, James and Lily helped her pack her essentials while her parents dealt with returning wedding gifts. Michael remained unreachable, having apparently fled to a cabin owned by a friend. James left increasingly angry voicemails that went unreturned. Emma found a small apartment but couldn't move in for 3 weeks. James insisted she stay with them in the meantime. It's the least I can do, he said when she protested. You've already done more than enough, she argued. I can stay with my parents. They live an hour from your work. And besides. He glanced at Lily, who was already planning which books to read Emma at bedtime. "We want you here." Those 3 weeks changed everything. James, who had been sleepwalking through life since his wife's death, found himself looking forward to evenings, Emma helping Lily with her reading, the three of them playing board games, adult conversations after Lily went to bed. Emma, recovering from her heartbreak, discovered that the Parker household offered something her relationship with Michael never had: peace. James didn't need to be the center of attention. He listened when she spoke. He noticed when she was tired and shooed her off to rest. And Lily, sweet, motherless Lily, blossomed with another caring adult in the house. They established routines. Emma made coffee in the mornings while James packed Lily's lunch. James cooked dinner while Emma helped Lily with homework. They took turns putting Lily to bed. Friends and family noticed. Sarah commented on how natural they seemed together when she visited. Emma's mother remarked that she hadn't seen her daughter smile so much in years. But neither James nor Emma acknowledged the growing connection between them. It felt too soon, too complicated. Michael's shadow loomed large. Then, 3 weeks after the non-wedding, Michael finally returned James's calls. "I'm coming to get my stuff from the apartment tomorrow," he said, his voice subdued. "Is Emma staying with you? People said you took her home from the church." James felt a surge of protectiveness. "She's been staying in my guest room while she finds a new place." "No thanks to you." Michael sighed. "I know I messed up, James. I panicked. I realized I was making a mistake." "So you left her at the altar with a note? You couldn't have figured this out sooner?" "I'm sorry, okay? To both of you. I never meant to hurt anyone." James gripped the phone tighter. "But you did hurt her, Michael. Badly." "I know." There was a pause. "How is she?" James looked through the kitchen window to where Emma was pushing Lily on the backyard swing, both of them laughing. "She's healing. She's strong." "Good." Another pause. "And how are you two? I mean, are you and she?" "What are you asking, Michael?" "Nothing. Just. Sarah mentioned you seemed close." James felt a flash of anger. "You don't get to be jealous. You gave up that right when you abandoned her." "I'm not jealous," Michael said quickly. "Actually, I'd be relieved. Emma deserves someone good." "You're good, James. You always have been." The conversation left James unsettled. That night, after Lily was asleep, he found Emma on the porch swing, wrapped in a blanket despite the mild evening. "Michael called," he said, sitting beside her. "He's coming to get his things tomorrow." Emma nodded. "My mom told me. She's meeting him there with the key. Are you okay with that?" "Yes. I don't need to see him." She pulled the blanket tighter. "I'm moving into my new place this weekend." James felt an unexpected pang. "Right. Of course. James." She turned to face him. "These weeks with you and Lily, they've meant everything to me. You turned the worst day of my life into something healing. We've loved having you here," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "But I think we both know I need to go. This situation is..." She gestured between them. "Complicated. Because of Michael. Partly. But also because I'm still figuring out who I am without him. And you. I've been alone for 3 years, Emma. I know who I am. Do you?" Her eyes were gentle. "Because sometimes I see you watching me with Lily, and I think you're looking for something to fill the gap Sarah left." The observation stung because there was truth in it. "That's not fair." "Maybe not. But I need to be sure that whatever is happening between us isn't just convenient healing for both of us." James wanted to argue but found he couldn't. Instead, he asked, so what now? Emma smiled softly. Now I move into my apartment. I build my new life. You and Lily continue yours. And maybe we see each other. Properly. Dinner, just the two of us. Movies. Normal things that aren't shadowed by my almost marriage to your brother. James felt hope rise in his chest. I'd like that. Me too. She leaned her head against his shoulder. But let's take it slow. For all our sakes. 6 months later, Emma sat in the audience at Lily's school play, saving seats for James and his parents. She checked her watch. James was cutting it close, having come straight from work. Emma. She turned to see Sarah waving as she approached with her husband. Mind if we join you? James said you'd be saving seats. Of course. Emma moved her purse from the adjacent chair. Sarah settled in, giving Emma an appraising look. You look happy. Emma smiled. I am. You and James seem good together. Lily adores you. We're taking things one day at a time, Emma said, though her heart fluttered at the observation. The past months had been a careful dance. Weekly dinners had become twice weekly, then more. James had met her friends, she'd spent holidays with his family. They'd navigated the awkwardness of Michael's occasional presence at family gatherings. He'd moved 2 hours away with the woman he'd left Emma for, appearing contrite but relieved whenever their paths crossed. Most importantly, they'd built something that belonged just to them, not defined by past relationships or tragedies. There he is, Sarah nodded toward the entrance where James was scanning the crowd, his tie loosened after a long workday. Emma raised her hand, and his face lit up when he spotted her. As he made his way toward them, Emma felt the now familiar warmth spread through her chest. What had begun as gratitude had deepened into something profound. Sorry I'm late, James said, sliding into the seat beside her. He kissed her cheek, then whispered, I have something to ask you later. Emma raised an eyebrow. Oh. He just smiled mysteriously as the lights dimmed. Throughout Lily's performance as a very enthusiastic tree in the forest, James held Emma's hand, his thumb tracing circles on her palm. Emma found herself thinking about the journey that had brought them here, how the worst day of her life had somehow led to this contentment she'd never expected to find. After the show, as they waited for Lily in the school hallway, James pulled Emma aside. I've been thinking, he said, suddenly serious. Lily asked me something this morning. What's that? She wanted to know if you were going to live with us someday. His eyes searched hers. I told her I hoped so. Emma's breath caught. James. I know it's only been 6 months. I know we said we'd take it slow. But Emma, I've never been more certain of anything. He took her hands in his. I love you. Lily loves you. And I hope, you might love us too. I do, she whispered, tears pricking her eyes. So much. Then move in with us. Not as a guest. As family. Emma thought about the day at the altar, how she'd felt her world ending. She never could have imagined that the quiet, steady man who'd led her away from her humiliation would become the center of her new world. Yes, she said, her heart full. Yes, I'll move in with you. James's smile was radiant as he pulled her into his arms. Over his shoulder, Emma saw Lily running toward them, still in her tree costume, branches flapping wildly. Did you ask her, Daddy? Did you? Lily called. James laughed, lifting his daughter with one arm while keeping the other around Emma. I did, and she said yes. Lily squealed with delight, throwing her leafy arms around both of them. Now we can be a real family. As they stood there embracing, Emma realized that sometimes life's most painful moments could lead to its greatest joys. The path hadn't been straight or easy, but it had led her exactly where she was meant to be. 2 years to the day after the wedding that never happened, James stood at the altar of a different church, smaller, more